Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready for another deep dive?
Definitely. Always ready to explore something new.
Well, today we're going to be taking a closer look at the role of English in India.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and we found this incredible talk online by a prominent English professor. It's gotten like millions of views.
Wow, millions. That's got to be saying something.
Yeah, it really struck a chord with people, and we wanted to kind of unpack what makes it so compelling.
Yeah, I'm curious too.
One of the first things that really stood out to me was how she addresses this like almost universal fear of English,
Oh, I know what you mean.
especially for people who don't speak it as their first language.
Right, right.
Even she, an English professor, admits to feeling it sometimes.
It's so true, though. I mean, even for someone like me who, works with language all the time, it can still be intimidating.
It's kind of disarming, right? Like she's acknowledging that vulnerability.
Exactly. It makes her so relatable.
Yeah, and by kind of putting those anxieties out in the open right from the start,
Hmm.
it makes the audience feel seen and understood.
It's like she's saying, hey, we're all in this together.
Exactly. And I think that's so important for creating a space for learning.
Absolutely.
Because when you feel safe and understood, you're more open to taking risks and, making mistakes.
Yeah, and that's a huge part of language learning.
And from there, she goes on to emphasize this idea that,
Yeah.
English can be much more than just a subject you study in school.
Right. It's not just about grammar rules and vocabulary lists.
Yeah, it's about using it as a tool for real impact.
Exactly. It's about communication, connection, and, even empowerment.
And she really connects that idea of impact to the Indian context.
Hmm.
Because for many people in India, English represents access to opportunities, a way to break down social and economic barriers.
Absolutely. It can be a real game changer in a globalized world.
Right, and to kind of illustrate this, she brings up this really powerful example.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
This person named Gampa Mageshwar Rao, who really embodies that drive to learn and succeed.
He had such an incredible story.
And it's like she's saying, look, if he can do it, anyone can.
It's all about mindset, right?
Yeah, and she's really emphasizing the importance of connecting language learning to your personal goals.
When you have a strong why, the how becomes so much easier.
It's not just about checking a box. It's about aligning English with your aspirations, your dreams.
And suddenly, it's not just a subject, it's a vehicle for achieving those dreams.
Another thing that I found really interesting was how she tackles this idea of the Telugu medium label head on.
Yeah, that was pretty powerful.
Could you explain a bit more about what that means and why it's significant?
Sure. So in India, Telugu medium refers to schools where the primary language of instruction is Telugu,
Okay.
not English, and unfortunately, there's often a stigma attached to it.
Oh, I see.
A perception that students from these schools might have weaker English skills.
So the professor is basically challenging that perception.
Exactly. She's saying, hold on a minute. These students have had years of English education. Let's not underestimate their potential.
And she's speaking from experience, right? She's worked with these students. She knows what they're capable of.
Absolutely. She's seen firsthand how they can excel.
So it's about shifting the focus from perceived deficiencies to existing strengths.
It's about recognizing that everyone has the potential to learn and grow regardless of their background.
It's like she's saying, stop holding yourself back with these self-limiting beliefs.
Yeah.
You're capable of so much more.
Yeah, that's such an important message.
And she backs it up with this very clear call to action. Just start speaking English.
That's it. Just start speaking.
Like, don't worry about making mistakes.
Yeah. Don't let that fear hold you back.
She actually encourages it.
She does.
Make 100 mistakes.
Yeah.
Make 1,000 mistakes, but please make some mistakes.
She's all about embracing those stumbles as part of the process.
Which is so refreshing.
It's it.
It's like she's taking the pressure off,
Mm-hmm.
reminding us that it's okay to be imperfect.
And that ties into her emphasis on creating an immersive environment for language acquisition,
It's exactly like surrounding yourself with English as much as possible.
making it a natural part of your daily life.
And during this particular event, she talks about how attendees are encouraged to speak only English.
Wow. That's really putting it into practice.
Right. It's about pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone and kind of creating that immersion, even if it's just for a short period of time.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And she believes that's where real fluency happens, not just in the classroom, but out in the real world.
Absolutely. It's like learning to swim. You can read all the books and watch all the videos, but until you get in the water and start paddling, you're not going to become a swimmer.
And it's the same with language.
You got to dive in and practice.
And what's amazing is that her message is clearly resonating with people far beyond the walls of that event.
I bet.
She mentions getting calls and emails from all over the world.
Wow.
People who saw her talk online and were inspired to improve their English.
That's so cool.
It really speaks to the power of her message. English isn't just about learning grammar rules or vocabulary, right? It's about connecting with the world, accessing opportunities, and expressing yourself on a global stage.
It's about so much more than just the language itself.
And she even tells this really touching story about someone from Brazil who reached out to her.
Oh, yeah, I remember that part.
It highlights how her words are like transcending geographical boundaries and touching lives across cultures and continents.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's a reminder that we're all interconnected in so many ways.
And language can be a powerful bridge between us, breaking down those barriers and building those connections.
It's pretty amazing, right?
Definitely.
To think about the impact that one person's passion for language can have.
Yeah, it's inspiring.
And it's not just about reaching a global audience. She also kind of brings it back to this very specific reality in India.
Yeah, she doesn't shy away from the fact that English proficiency can be a deciding factor in professional success.
You can be a bit of a tough love message, but it's also grounded in reality,
Yeah, totally. She's not sugarcoating anything. She's speaking from experience.
The understanding.
Yeah, recognizing that English might not be everyone's first language, but it's become essential in a globalized world.
And this is where her message becomes so important for young people in India.
Yeah.
Facing this competitive job market,
Right.
increasingly interconnected world.
Exactly. And that's why I think her focus on pushing past the Telugu medium label is so powerful.
It is.
She's not letting anyone off the hook with excuses.
It's like she's saying,
yeah,
look, you have the foundation.
you've got the skills.
Now build on it.
Now take ownership.
It's a message of self-belief and taking control of your own future.
Absolutely.
And her call to action is so simple but profound. Just start speaking English.
Yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Embrace them as part of the process.
It's all part of learning.
And she's really championing this idea of a growth mindset.
Oh, definitely.
Where mistakes aren't failures, but opportunities for learning and improvement.
And growth.
And that shift in perspective can be so freeing.
Oh, totally.
Especially for people who might be hesitant to speak English for fear of being judged.
It's about creating a safe space for experimentation and growth.
And she emphasizes this applies not just to the classroom, but to everyday life.
Right, like making English a habit.
Yeah, incorporate it into your conversations.
With friends, colleagues, even family.
Yeah, and this actually reminded me of something else she talked about.
Oh, what's that?
This balance between personal and professional life.
Yeah.
Like, she encourages embracing your mother tongue in your personal life, but then emphasizes the need for English in professional settings.
It's an interesting distinction.
I thought it was really insightful.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not about replacing one language with another. It's about recognizing the value of both.
Absolutely.
And using them strategically.
And that kind of brings us back to the core of her message.
Yeah.
English isn't just a subject. It's a key that unlocks a world of possibilities.
But it's not just about individual success. She also touches on this idea of collective impact.
Yeah.
The role of English in bridging cultural divides.
Right. She talks about receiving emails and calls from people all over the world.
All inspired by her talk.
To improve their English.
Imagine the potential for collaboration and understanding.
It's amazing.
When people from different cultures can communicate effectively.
It's really inspiring.
And she even shares a specific story about someone from Brazil who reached out to her.
Oh, yeah.
It really highlights the global reach of her message.
That story really stood out to me, too.
It's a beautiful example of how English can foster connections, create opportunities for dialogue and understanding across borders.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that we're all part of a larger global community.
Definitely.
And language can be one of the most powerful tools to bridge those divides. It's really incredible how she manages to kind of weave all these different things together.
What do you mean?
Well, like the anxieties around speaking English, those societal expectations, the practical advice,
Oh, yeah.
and this big overarching message of empowerment and global connection.
She really does paint a complete picture.
She does, and she does it with such warmth and genuine belief in her audience. You can just feel it.
Absolutely. She clearly loves language.
Yeah, And she truly believes it can transform lives.
One thing that stuck with me was how she emphasizes aligning language learning with personal goals.
Oh, yeah, that's so important.
It's not just about memorizing words and rules.
Right. It's about making it meaningful.
It's about connecting English to what you want to achieve in life.
And she uses that example of Gampa Nageshwar Rao
Oh, yeah.
to show that with the right motivation, anything is possible.
His story was so inspiring, right?
Yeah, like if he can do it, anyone can.
Totally. And she doesn't let anyone off the hook with excuses either.
Oh, no.
Remember when she calls out that Telugu medium label?
Oh, yeah.
She's basically saying, stop selling yourself short.
Exactly.
You have more potential than you realize.
It's about shattering those limitations and recognizing the skills you already have.
And then taking action.
Yeah, and that call to action is so clear and empowering.
What is it?
Start speaking English today.
Just dive in.
Don't let fear hold you back. Embrace those mistakes, those stumbles.
It's all part of the learning process.
And she's really advocating for that growth mindset, right?
Definitely.
Where mistakes aren't seen as failures, but opportunities for learning and improvement.
And growth?
It's like she's giving everyone permission to let go of that perfectionism.
And just go for it.
Just dive in head first.
Exactly. And that can be so liberating.
It can.
When you stop being afraid to make mistakes, you actually enjoy the process more.
Yeah, and she reinforces this idea by creating that immersive environment during the event.
Right. Everyone's speaking only English.
Yeah, it must feel like being transported to a different world.
It's a brilliant way to accelerate learning and build confidence.
It is. And then she challenges everyone to extend that immersion beyond the event.
Oh.
By encouraging them to keep speaking English with friends, colleagues, family.
Yeah, keep practicing.
Whoever will listen.
It's about making it a habit.
Exactly.
Weaving it into your daily life.
So it all comes back to that central message, right? English is not just a subject. It's a tool for connection, empowerment, global citizenship.
It's a tool that's available to everyone.
Yeah, no matter your background or current skill level.
It's about recognizing the power of language to open doors and create opportunities.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the most impactful takeaway for you?
That's a good question.
What will you be thinking about as you go about your day?
I think for me, it's that reminder that language learning is a journey.
Oh, yeah.
Not a destination. It's about embracing the challenges, the triumphs, the constant evolution.
That's a great way to put it.
It's about connecting with others, expanding our horizons, and using language as a force for good.
Beautifully said.
Thank you.
And for me, I think it's her unwavering belief in her audience, her conviction that anyone can achieve fluency with the right mindset and dedication.
It's a message of hope and possibility.
It is, and it's incredibly inspiring.
It is.
So if you're feeling inspired to take your English to the next level, remember her advice. Start today. Find your motivation. Embrace the journey, and don't be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way.
Great advice.
And that wraps up our deep dive for today. We hope you found it insightful and thought-provoking.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
Until next time, keep those conversations flowing and keep diving deep.